So, tell me about your life. The past few years have seen the boom of therapy online. When I think of therapy, I think of Americans lying on couches professing their darkest secrets to a person with glasses in a tweed suit. And how does that make you feel? As a doctor, I've prescribed therapy. I recommend it to people almost every single day with things like anxiety and depression. I remember a time as a kid being completely stress-free, having no rent, no bills, no job, no upload schedule. But life isn't that easy. With long days in the hospital, nights spent editing and partying, it feels like there is no break from the constant rat race. Can therapy improve the way a regular person feels in their life? And can it make my life any better? This video is in partnership with Cerebral, but more on them later. It's time for session 1, the first step of penetrating my mind. Okay, I'm never gonna say that again, it sounds very weird.
I can because I'm capable.
I feel like I've never had what I'd consider to be a diagnosable mental health condition, but I've heard such good things about having therapy for these low-level mental health problems. I'm really looking forward to it. I booked a session with my therapist called Dimitri, and yeah, interested to see what he has to say.
What brings you here today then?
I think I have been a lot more anxious recently. I think mainly through posting online, and you obviously get a lot of comments and things like that.
What sorts of things have you noticed?
Just kind of a feeling of like a knot in your stomach, not panic attacks, but more of like sense of unease. Sometimes make me feel a bit nauseous, or sometimes wakes me up. I find that I'm quite busy, so I find it difficult to just like sit down and do that thing and not do anything else. I'm constantly thinking about things I need to be doing.
I feel like this first session made me realise that I've never really talked to someone about how I'm feeling. I've occasionally mentioned it like a title, like I'm feeling stressed or busy, but I've never really poured out and sought to understand why I have certain emotions. This properly overwhelmed me, as you can see.
I definitely feel a little bit brighter. We spoke about different things that cause me problems with mainly anxiety. We talked about anxiety, the different things in my life that cause me anxiety, and some practical things that I can do between now and the next session, including keeping a diary. These first ones are about understanding what is causing you the problem. The next few are talking about the coping mechanisms, what we can do to try and manage them. And finally, they'll dig deeper into the root cause as to why you're getting anxiety there. And yeah, if you saw that video, I did cry. I can't believe I cried.
I spent the next week definitely feeling brighter. It made me way more conscious of my thoughts, and they didn't change, but I was more aware of the thoughts that I was having, which was a strange and new sensation.
You got to dig a little bit deeper.
I really hope I don't get told off, because I was asked to keep a diary and I didn't do it. I've just finished my second therapy session. A lot less emotional this one, but a lot more practical, but suggestions of overcoming feelings of anxiety. A lot of the talk was about trying to do too much. Talked about some techniques about how to prioritize, sort of setting realistic targets for goals, writing down, brainstorming everything you need to do, circling the important ones, crossing off the other ones, and coming up with practical breakdowns of these things. We also talked about mindfulness, because I've always thought about it as these apps and listening to someone speak, and I've always become very distracted by it, thinking I've got so many things to do. But today we talked about doing mindfulness, but just by yourself, in everyday things that you're already doing. When you're brushing your teeth, think about how the bristles feel against your teeth, think about the smell of the toothpaste, and notice when you get distracted with the thoughts and try and bring them back to the act of brushing your teeth. And this is the week that I actually do try and keep a diary.
The second week I tried but kept on forgetting to practice mindfulness. I realised that it's easier to talk about being mindful than it is to actually be mindful, and that although I was so motivated in the session to make a change, the weeks were slipping away from me. Session 3 was when I came to the realization that I had anxiety, and that it was caused by being overwhelmed by having so many things to do. Like everyone now, I'm juggling so many things to the point that I'm just waiting for one of them to drop. It's metaphorical juggling, not actual juggling. I can't really juggle.
I personally believe that there is nothing I cannot do.
There was a lot of talk today about goal setting, about what I actually want in life and how am I going to achieve it. The times where I'm feeling most anxious or overwhelmed are when I think about all of the things I have to do. It's really helpful being able to talk through these things with someone. I thought it was going to be a guy going through my childhood. It is very practical. It's about what I can do now in the times where I'm maybe not feeling 100%.
You must understand that there is more than one path.
This was about negative thinking patterns. So yes, you're feeling worried, and yes, it may be because of this, but can you spot these patterns of thinking happening in real life? This was my homework. Following this session, I was probably the most I've ever been in my life conscious about what I was thinking and patterns of thinking. I found myself having thoughts and having feelings and then linking them back to the specific thought patterns that we talked about in these sessions. And whilst they didn't go away, I was definitely more aware.
I'm so grateful then I'm not where I used to be.
Session 5 was a more in-depth talk about things that were on my mind and making me worried.
And then you kind of like give your answers to yourself. And then what happens? Do you go back to kind of like thinking about the worst case scenario?
Having these sessions really makes me think about, oh, I'm not feeling right, something's not quite right, but it makes me think about what are the situations in which you are not feeling right, and during those situations, how do you feel and what thoughts are you having? And when you break it down like that, you're working out what thoughts you're having during times where you're feeling a little bit anxious, and then you're able to recognize those thoughts when they come and try and challenge them.
You're gonna put the blood, you're gonna put the sweat, you're gonna put the tears in.
Today I have got my next therapy session. I think it's number 6. I didn't do my diary as much as I should have done, but I have started a diary and I found that really helpful. This is what the page looks like, and then I just literally click join session now and it joins my session. So it's pretty cool actually, quite easy to do.
I'm doing this therapy in partnership with Cerebral. Cerebral is a highly rated and flexible online therapy service. You can book your sessions at a time that's convenient for you and do them wherever you are. The therapy that I've been doing in this video was provided to me for free, but I haven't been paid to make the video and I haven't been paid to say nice things. It's genuinely just been so convenient for me. You've probably seen that for most of the video, I've been doing it from my bed in my pajamas. So that's the advantage of doing therapy online compared to having to go to a place to do it. Use code Kieran20OFF to get 20% off your first month. The links are in the video description. Let's get back to the video. In session 6, we spoke specifically about breathing techniques, as this is something I wanted to explore more. It was an incredibly busy week for me, submitting for my final medical exams and going to the YouTube Health Conference in London.
When you are experiencing stress or anxiety, try to kind of like almost like explore how you're breathing.
Dear diary, today I learned, you know what, sometimes don't be so self-critical. It's okay to just have that Netflix day or to eat whatever you want, and it's okay to just want to do nothing. This is what I've learned today, session 7. As the weeks passed, I found myself having more situations thinking, I wonder what my therapist would say in this situation. And I guess that's kind of the point, being conscious of your thinking and challenging this thinking, putting yourself in someone else's perspective.
If I don't change, then I'm gonna find myself bankrupt.
There was a couple of phrases that I wanted to share with you guys. One of them was, the feeling is correct, perhaps the intensity isn't. And I thought that was a really good way of describing anxiety in a lot of situations, and that it's normal to feel anxious in a lot of these situations you're in, but the intensity of the way you're feeling is the one that's not correct, and that's what you need to be questioning. I remember having zero feelings of anxiety at all, and then all of a sudden having them one day. And then we went into, well, what was your life like at that point? And I guess at that time there was no responsibility. I was at school or at med school. I had one role, which was to pass my exams. My friends were all in one place. All of the sport was in one place. So the responsibility that you have at that point is basically none. Well, that's an unrealistic expectation to think that you're ever going to get back to that again. And I think just understanding that as well and thinking, well, I'm not aiming to get back to that point, I'm just aiming to try and manage the way I'm feeling now. He also said a phrase that I found really funny, which was, the solution to the problem is to actually be balanced, but it seems like you don't want to do that. Yeah, one day I'll have that written on my gravestone.
You've invested too much time. You've given too much to quit now.
Alright, so final therapy session, let's go. My experiences so far, if I'm honest, have been a little mixed. I think at the beginning I was learning a lot of new things about myself. I don't think I've properly come with a problem. I think if I'd come and said, I've got this problem that I need to solve, I think there would have been a little bit more structure. It's still been an interesting, reflective experience, and I found myself probably reflecting more on my day-to-day about what I'm doing and how I'm feeling. So if there's any takeaway from this, I wonder if it's that. It's difficult because I've been artificially put in this situation. I've gone in and said, I am trying therapy for 2 months to see if it can help.
I've recently been feeling like the days are slipping by and that I'm just not living them. Days turn to weeks, to months, birthdays pass, and we're still in the same place. Part of this challenge was diving deeper into my own emotions, and if that was the goal of this, then I think I have been successful. At the end of these 2 months, I've become way more conscious about the thoughts that I am having, and I have been able to recognize negative thoughts and then to challenge them. It certainly wasn't a magic pill that has made everything better, and maybe I didn't get some of those deeper connections, but maybe my expectations for it were too high. high. I still had and do have that feeling of stress and worry, but I'm way more able to recognize and pinpoint these emotions now and know exactly what it is that I am feeling. I think unloading weekly, whether it be to a therapist or a friend, is something I can see being really valuable. Being able to do this every single week from my own bed has been amazing, so a big thank you to Cerebral for helping me do this. The links are in the video description. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.